Hi, welcome to Mystic Melodies Tune In Tuesday. I'm LaFlamme. This week we're going to be talking about creative comfort zones and breaking out of that fear box. Ooh, it's a big one. Did you know that 70% of folks actually experience some level of anxiety, fear, not just musicians, but all kinds of artists, and poets and dancers and writers and um, podcasters, and myself starting the show was a huge breaking out of my fear box. So I used to get pretty bad anxiety when I first started performing when I was younger. I would get so nervous and sweaty palms, all that adrenaline and cortisol surging up that I would almost throw up. And it was really tricky. So I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. So what surprised me over the years is that I had never actually stopped and thought, well, why is this happening? Why do I always get this feeling before I step out on my stage, right? Instead of, really stepping back and saying, well, can this be changed? And I was like, wow, yeah, maybe it can be. So I thought I would share some of my ideas, and hopefully, they'll help some folks out there with their nerves, their stage fright. But the biggest one of all for me was fear, right? And I decided to look at this fear box not as an enemy, but as a guide, right? So that shaky, sticky, sweaty feeling and anxious and nerves and whatnot is really just a signal that you're growing, and growth is key, right? So, our comfort zones, they're cozy, right? They also can be graves for creativity, right? And so when we press in and lean into that wobble of that anxiety, when we grow and we chase and grab that, it makes, us move into where the magic lives, right? When we can grab and embrace that fear and toss it out. And that's something that, I still work on, like I said. So I took some quiet time today and I kind of just journaled and jotted down some of the things that I've experienced and what may cause some of that. And I thought I would share those with you. And then, we can talk about some remedies for that, some things to actually do in your daily life to, gain that confidence and get rid of that. But it all sounds easy, right? But we can do it, and I do it. So the last couple of months, I was jotting down the ideas of if we think we need to be perfect or our song needs to be perfect, that can really hold us back. Our own expectations of ourselves, right? And the big one was worries over being negatively judged by others, fear of rejection. That was, another one. That's a big one. Self-deprecative thoughts. Demotivating talk. It really discourages any creative breakthrough, right? Not having a higher source to access belief in yourself and acquiring that confidence, calling it down. Bad company. That's a big one. Surrounding yourself with negative people definitely isn't gonna, get you out of that fear box by any stretch. Or being told that, revealing your gifts and talents makes you, a narcissistic, ego-driven person. That's not true. We're all, have different gifts that we've been called to share. Another one, is just doubt, right? No doubt, you got to throw that out. So then I started asking, well, what are some of the things that we can do, like I said, to let that fear go, right? And first thing is to think about and pinpoint what exactly is stirring that. What element do you step into, or what goal is it that you want to do, that, where you want to elevate and grow, and then, you feel that fear and anxiety come on you. I think that's the first thing that you need to do, is know where it stems from, right? Where's that foundation, so you can tackle that part. And so some of the things that work really well is, positive imagery, right? Seeing yourself succeed, seeing you play out, either reading that poem, or, performing that song, or, whatever that positive imagery is that you need to to grab and really grab on that daily, envision your success for sure. Self-talk, self-speak, that's a big one, right? Not getting down on yourself, speaking uplifting words. That really builds confidence and mental strength. An exciting one that I've recently implemented with my students is what I call free play. And it's just improv, where you sit down at one of your instruments and you literally just play anything. And it's not meant to be correct or right. There's nothing is wrong per se. You're just literally just letting the creative, energy flow, and accepting what comes out and not judging it and embracing it and saying, wow. And instead of hearing, ooh, I played a wrong note or a right note or this and that, you're just observing and hearing the sounds and digesting that creative process. And it's been really interesting to see, and my students grow in that. At first, they were really nervous about it because they thought they had to perform something perfect or whatnot. So when I explained, no, this is just about, improving and experiencing something from yourself that you haven't before. So that one I highly recommend doing. That one's really cool. Sharing a song with a supportive friend, a loved one, a family member, and getting their feedback on your performance. Because my experience has been that a lot of times they didn't even notice a tiny slip up or any jitters or fears at all. We make them bigger than they are, and most people don't even see them. Teaching someone else, sharing your gifts, that builds confidence, and you're encouraging someone else along the way. Start a journal, start a blog, and document your journey, document your growth. Be proud of things, you can write down that you overcame, and getting out of that fear box for sure. The biggest one is go to an open mic, right? And there's all different styles of folks at every different level. You can go to a poetry slam, you can go to karaoke, it doesn't matter, but just make that challenge and go out and go for it. So the last thing that I wanted to do was end by saying, the most important thing that I've learned, and I'm still working on it, is to truly not worry about what others think, right? It just doesn't matter. Having pride in your work and caring about what you share invites confidence, right? And not caring about what other people think, that really puts you in the creative freedom arena, right? You can experience all that greatness. Remember, other people's opinions don't define, who you are. You are the artist you were born to be, and be proud of that. Because we all have a special place in the universe, where sharing your craft and sharing who you truly are is the ultimate being present and being in the now, right? It doesn't get any better than that. And when you're in the now and present and sharing those gifts, there's no room for fear. It's not able to be present. Whew, that's a good one, right? So I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear how you got out of your creative comfort zone and broke the fear box. So please send over any thoughts or videos, or even a song that, helps you get, into a great mental place of ridding any stage fright or fear. I encourage that. So if you are interested, you can check out my Rumble channel also, and it is at Fire with N. That's fire with a capital N, Fire Within, right? So thank you for tuning in to Mystic Melodies Tune In Tuesday, and I will see you next week. Bye.